When it comes to field underwriting, I feel like this is one of the areas that's kind of a little bit complex for brand new agents, or maybe a lot of newer agents tend to struggle and actually not quite do it right. And then what happens is the next thing you know, they're giving the client the wrong price. And then because the client's not getting approved for the product that they're pricing them with. And the next thing you know, they got to backpedal and try to clean up the mess that they created. So in this video today, if you got any questions about underwriting, we're probably going to answer them. And the idea is by the time you've watched this video, you should be a life insurance field underwriting professional, whether you're doing telesales or face-to-face. So let's start off by, please give the video a thumbs up. And we do suggest subscribing if you're new to the channel. We're putting out life insurance sales content, health insurance, Medicare, all kinds of sales content and training videos just like this all the time. So some of the things we're going to touch on, and I want to make sure that you guys have, are how to use my medical questions page. So stick around at the end of the video. I'm going to show you how to use this thing. It's going to save you a lot of trouble if you use it correctly. Again, whether you're doing face-to-face or telesales. We're also going to talk about exactly what to ask the client so that you actually get the correct underwriting information. And again, you don't end up quoting them for the wrong product. And we're also going to get into using Google, because you're going to find some medications have dual uses. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I feel like that's where, yes, you want to use insurance toolkits. I feel like that's a basic tool that every life insurance agent probably should be using. But there's times when it's not really going to be clear. The one thing that I've learned about dealing with the people that run insurance toolkits is that they basically take what the carrier gives them and they say, okay, well, the carrier told us that this is the situation, so this is how we're putting the underwriting on insurance toolkits. And the simple fact is that's just not reality. Because a lot of times an underwriter will look at something and they will change something because of something else they see, even if it looks perfect on insurance toolkits. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, about maybe using Google again for that. And number 4, I am going to go over my top 3 carriers and the underwriting. Basically, not really going to get into a deep dive on their underwriting, but we're going to talk about why you should be using them and why basically, in most cases, if you're really good, you should be able to put like 95% of your business with these 3 carriers. And that's if you're doing final expense. If you're doing other life insurance products, okay, that's going to be a little bit different. But in this case, we're talking mainly final expense. So when it comes to using my medical questions page, the one thing that I will say, the nice thing about it is you can keep notes on everything that you're talking about during your presentation. Again, whether you're doing face-to-face or telesales. And when I say notes, I mean everything from like a separate page where you want to keep some of the client's personal information, like for example, the beneficiary, okay, something like that. But you can actually keep more information too. The one thing about the medical question page is the idea of using this thing is you ask the questions that are on this page, and what happens is you have all the information needed and you don't really have to re-ask the questions on the application with the carrier. At least that's what we're trying to avoid by doing this correctly. So by the time you've asked all these questions and you do get yes answers, really to me, as soon as you get a yes answer, for example, diabetes, they say yes. The first thing I want to know is how long, when were you first diagnosed, and exactly what is the treatment that the doctor prescribed. Now, here's the thing. Let me be clear. A lot of times people will say, well, I don't take anything for it. That's not what I asked. I asked, what did the doctor prescribe? Because that's what the insurance carriers are going to actually see. And you're going to find there is a certain amount of people that will be prescribed something and they won't even pick it up. Like they'll just no, they kind of go into this self-treatment. Like they really think they know best, or one issue or another, for whatever reason, they won't even take it. So they'll be prescribed, like for example, multiple medications for a breathing condition, and they'll tell you, I don't even take anything for it. I don't take anything for it. That doesn't mean they don't have it. So the key is to dig in really deep and actually find out what they're prescribed. Number 2 do, when it comes to getting the information from them, one of the things that I always ask, again, whether face-to-face or telesales, is, Mrs. Client, I need you to get up off the couch and go grab all your medication bottles for me, please. And if you have the list from your doctor that has all the medications too, grab that for me too. I'm going to need that. Guys, you have to get them up. Here's what they'll say. Oh, I only take 2 things. See, it goes back to the I only take. Again, we want to know what they were prescribed. We also want to know what they've been taking for the past couple of years. So one of the things I will ask, if you have any old bottles of something that maybe you took last year or a couple of years ago laying around, bring them, because that gives me an idea of your history. So guys, you have to get them up. You have to get straight answers, and you have to get them to actually do this. By doing this, you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble, and basically at the end of the day, you're going to keep yourself from giving them the wrong quote, the wrong price. And again, guys, I love insurance toolkits. I think this is a tool that every life insurance agent should use. But again, they're going to be limited. And so I kind of feel like that's where we get to number 3, using Google. So let me show you an example of how you can use Google. What does carvedilol do?
According to NHS, this helps lower your blood pressure. For angina, carvedilol works by improving the blood supply to your heart.
Okay, so right off the bat, Google, without me even digging deep and really looking, mentioned 2 completely different things. High blood pressure, not an issue. Angina, for some companies, that's a knockout, right? And or depending on how long the client has had it, it could actually, if they've had it for a couple of years and they haven't had any like serious incidents, like where they had to be hospitalized, they felt the chest pain and they took the medication for it and they had to go to the hospital, it could be an issue, right? But if not, some of these carriers, after 1 or 2 years, it can be level. So that is one thing. Another one, if you look, so if I do a deep dive, I know, let me see. What is the main side effect? What should I avoid while taking carvedilol? What are the benefits of carvedilol? Okay. So, all right. So it even tells you a little bit more about what it is. Carvedilol is a beta blocker. It's used to treat high blood pressure, heart failure. So now it's talking congestive heart failure and heart function problems after a heart attack. So a lot of people, it mentioned heart attack too. So a lot of people, you'll ask them again, you'll say, hey, look, so I know you said you didn't really have a heart attack. Was there anything that maybe like a mini heart attack or like something weird that happened with your heart to where maybe it wasn't? Another thing that I'll ask this, because it tends to be related, is stroke. So a lot of times people will be taking this after they have a stroke because the stroke can weaken their heart, for example. A lot of this stuff they go hand in hand. So one of the things you've got to get really comfortable with is really doing a deep dive into their health situation, because look, this is the messed up part. In many cases, the doctor's not going to go, Janet, I've got bad news. You have congestive heart failure. They're not going to do it that way and scare them. They'll make it sound like it's minor. So what they'll do is they'll put in their notes, congestive heart failure, okay? And then they'll prescribe the medication and they'll say, Janet, listen, you just need to take this medication. It's okay. We want to keep your heart healthy. This is going to help you. Like a lot of times, believe it or not, the doctors won't even tell them this is what you have, even though that's not. And so I know doctors do this. I've had a conversation with my doctor about it, and he absolutely said that, yes, that is exactly how we do it a lot of times, because we don't want to scare our clients. We just want to make sure they take the medication. Scaring them isn't going to help them. And if you're thinking, well, wait a minute, the client has a right to know. Yes, the client has a right to know. But when you're getting older and you have like multiple issues, a lot of times it's like a pile on. First this happens, then this happens, then this happens. At some point, I feel like, the doctors, they don't need to scare them. Again, it just comes down to, it's good to be informed, but there's no need to just terrorize them with their health. Which leads us to number 4. Let's talk about my top 3 favorite carriers, life insurance carriers. Again, we're talking mainly final expense. Okay, so number 1 is still American Amicable. Now, I have made some changes. I am going to be putting out a new top 5 list because over the past 6 months, I've noticed something with one of my top 5 carriers, and it is no longer in my top 5. It was actually one of my top 3 carriers 6 months ago, no longer. But we'll talk about that later. But American Amicable, still number 1. So they will insure a lot of people. They insure people from 0 to 85 years old, various health conditions. The application, the process is really, really easy. And you have multiple options for the signature for the client, which are also very, very easy. And one of the things I love about them, the same thing as my number 2 carrier, is that let's say you start the signature process and you want to do a quick email signature, for example, and the client's having technology issues. You can go backwards. You can basically just backstep and say, no problem, Janet. Let's just use your voice as a signature. I'm going to read to you something and I just need you to answer the question. And then you can literally just switch to the voice signature. So I love that about them, guys. This is it's really easy and very important. If you have never done this before, trust me, this is one of the reasons we love American Amicable. They also do true Social Security billing. So let me just explain that real quick. You should already know what that is in most cases. If you don't, there's a bunch of videos out there, but this is important too. So Social Security billing, which is what all carriers should be able to do. Like if you can't do regular Social Security billing, you're broken, right? That's what every carrier that I believe in does, Social Security billing. And what that means is they can draft the payment on a second Wednesday, a third Wednesday, or a fourth Wednesday, because that's when some Social Security recipients receive their benefits. Now, what true Social Security billing is, that's next step, that's next level. So for example, a few times a year, the first and the third will actually fall on a weekend. So banks can't receive money. They can't receive money from Social Security on a Saturday, a Sunday, or a holiday. They're not set up that way. They're set up to receive the money on normal business days. So when that third or the first falls on the weekend, a Saturday or a Sunday, Social Security, the government, the U.S. government has a law for Social Security they have to abide, which is these people can never get their money late. So they actually have to get it the business day before. So if they're supposed to receive it on Saturday, they will actually get it in their checking account on the Friday before. What carriers that do true Social Security billing will do is they will follow that calendar and they'll draft that payment on Friday morning too, instead of waiting till Monday. So some carriers are just going to wait till Monday. 2 carriers that I really like that are going to wait until Monday, and this is up to me a huge fail, are Mutual of Omaha. Love their product. It's great. This is the only thing. They would probably have been like, they could potentially be my number 1 product if they actually did true Social Security billing, but they're going to wait. And another carrier with a killer product I really love, you're going to hear me talking more about it, is Foresters. So again, Social Security billing, they don't do the true Social Security billing. Foresters, you got to fix this, guys. You got such great products. You absolutely, if you're watching this video, have to fix this. And of course, again, with American Amicable, before we moved on to number 2 is the underwriting, guys. The underwriting is pretty darn lenient, which actually directs us right into number 2, Royal Neighbors of America. So they've got a few killer niches. One of the niches that we use a lot is you can give a client level coverage if they have a serious breathing condition, as long as they're not on oxygen. So COPD is level. And that's important because a lot of times you'll do your underwriting and they'll tell you, well, I just have asthma. And then they'll tell you that they're prescribed 2 different things. If you're prescribed 2 different things for asthma, you do not have asthma. You have a chronic breathing condition. So very important, guys, something to look at. They have these killer member benefits. So Royal Neighbors, one of the things is once you're a client or an agent, you have access to scholarships. You have access to one of the things they do is they actually give assistance to members when in need. So an example is, I know years ago, there was a hurricane came through and a bunch of people in, I believe it was South Carolina, lost their power for weeks. And what Royal Neighbors did was they actually sent these people a check to replace some of the food that potentially may have gone bad in the refrigerator. So they do little stuff like that, which means they've got really, really, really good talking points. Royal Neighbors is diabetes friendly. American Amicable kind of is too, but I feel like Royal Neighbors absolutely is more diabetic friendly, which is why, to me, if I'm going to put a client who maybe has a couple of minor health issues, I'm really looking at American Amicable and Royal Neighbors, and I'm going, well, wait, where do I want to put them? Which one's going to be better? Who am I going to most likely get them approved through? And so Royal Neighbors also does the true Social Security billing that we just talked about. Now, they've got something cool. They put out this new product within the past couple of years, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that what it does is it has a super competitive rate for clients that are taking a higher face amount of insurance. So once the client is taking $25,000 of insurance or more, that rate per thousand goes down. So it becomes super competitive. So there's situations when you're looking at maybe $15,000 to $20,000 for other carriers, and you pull up Royal Neighbors for $25,000, and it's like close to being the same price. Like, it makes absolute sense to pay a few dollars more potentially to get this Royal Neighbors $25,000. So that I love. The application, super easy. And of course, again, signature process. Same thing we love about American Amicable. We got those multiple signature processes. So we love that because, look, we want to try to make it easy. We want the client to be able to just, maybe open an email or open a text and just get a couple of taps and boom, the signature is done. We want to make it as easy for them as possible. But sometimes they're just not tech savvy. So you have to do some type of a voice signature, which leads us to number 3, Guarantee Trust Life, GTL. Now, guys, GTL, the reason I got it number 3 is because it is not a level product. To me, it has huge value because it's a true graded product, 1, and 2, it's very competitive, and 3, you can take clients that you would normally put with a guaranteed issue carrier, and you can give them this graded product. So the difference is the guaranteed issue carriers, a lot of them, there's no full benefits until after 3 years have passed, or if the client dies, let's say in the second year, for example, they're not getting as much life insurance. So the death benefit is smaller than a true graded product. So again, that's why I love Guarantee Trust Life. And not only that, but it also does true Social Security billing. They got that figured out, which is very important. And once again, the application process and the signature processes are very simple. And so to me, again, between these 3 carriers, if you're doing your underwriting the way that we just talked about, you're really doing a deep dive and getting all their health questions answered by them correctly, and you're digging a little deeper to verify. Because sometimes people will say, well, I only have high blood pressure, right? Here's another example. And then they'll pull out 3 different high blood pressure medications. If you pull out 3 high blood pressure medications, you don't have high blood pressure. You've got issues. You probably have a heart condition. Your blood pressure is definitely not controlled. And that's the idea of asking them what they're taking, because it's got to be controlled. I had a client years ago, and their daughter said that basically her mom just died because her blood pressure, they couldn't control it. They said, I asked her, what are they telling you? Why did she die? And she said, high blood pressure. Like, she couldn't give me an answer. Like, it wasn't a heart attack or something. They couldn't get it under control. And eventually what happened was, I think she was fainting. Like, she'd go to stand up and get a head rush. And next thing you know, she's hitting her head and banging her bones up. And like, she was having a lot of problems. She just couldn't get it regulated. So guys, this is serious. And this is why you really have to do a deep dive. And I am telling you, if you use these carriers, between these 3, you should be able to put like 95% of your business there. Maybe have a 4th carrier for a guaranteed issue, like a real guaranteed issue carrier, and just concentrate on that. That's going to make your underwriting easier. That's going to make it easier for you to get more clients approved the way that you're quoting them. That's the important thing. That's the whole idea of this. What you guys don't want to do is quote a client one thing and have them approve for something else. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you'd like a copy of the medical questions page that I just showed you and that I've been using with my clients for years and that all of my agents use, just shoot me an email at doug@ufesonline.com. If you'd like more information on working with me on our remote telesales platform for life insurance, which you can get, like, if you want 20 preset appointments a day, we can make that happen. Or if you'd like to do face-to-face Medicare Advantage sales, we've got a program where we'll get you some free leads. If you're interested in any one of those, just email me at the same address. As always, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will always fall right into place. So do yourself a favor, get on that headset, and whatever happens today, make sure that you do something good for someone else today. Happy hunting.